Thank you. I'm wondering, since Ross turned the recording on, if Raina would be willing to read her purpose so that everybody will be able to hear it.
Sure. My purpose in leading a licensed facilitator class is to empower people to know their life's value and purpose so that they can be their best and contribute to their communities in a meaningful way.
Beautiful. That knowing your own value is huge, isn't it? Okay, thank you. Who else?
Well, my purpose to facilitate C is to for people to know how their mind creates their reality, and that having self-esteem is having one's self-esteem really impacts others and the world, and it makes a huge difference. Yep.
Really does. Really does. Thank you, Susie. Okay, Janet.
Sure. My purpose is to equip people with tools and techniques to identify and actualize their purposes in life. By using my talents of teaching and creating, listening and facilitating, I see them expressing their fullest purposes through clear and decisive actions that prioritize their values individually and in groups, with the support of a community that envisions their accountability and success. And at the risk of sounding trite, I see more peace in the world when there are more purposeful people with integrity living their best lives.
That doesn't sound trite at all to me.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's how a shift happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
Starts with one person and then the next and then the next.
Yeah. I mean, I really get how it starts from within and then it touches the people closest to us and then farther and farther and farther. And, you know, that's what this work is all about.
Yeah. In fact, look around us at all the different countries we represent and see how far just this piece of work has touched. Thank you, Janet. Okay, who's next? You know, this will happen when you have an LF class, especially if you're doing it on Zoom and you'll have that silence after you ask who's willing to share. One of the things that Troy Bertelson does in his licensed facilitator classes is he takes them right on the first thing, a willingness exercise. He said, I'm going to say, are you willing? And you raise your hand. And they must do it like 20 times. But we saw the results of that when several of his students took the Launchpad weekend. And as soon as the trainer would say, who's willing, they would raise their hand. They were so used to being willing.
It's a great idea.
Colette.
Thank you. I'm reminded of when I did the training for the first course, so the power of self-esteem with Brad. And one of the exercises I remember, because I found it so difficult, is stepping forward and saying, I'm here and I'm willing to participate and mean it. I thought I can say it and step back, but so I invite you. You're here. Are you willing to participate?
And welcome to Pari. Pari, we can't see your video yet. Glad you made it. So Pari, we're in the midst of sharing our purposes that we worked on this week.
There she is.
Hi, Corey.
How are you doing? Sorry about to be late.
That's okay. We knew you were going to be. Welcome. So who's willing to share the purpose that they wrote? What is your purpose? Hello?
May I ask a question, Sylvia?
Certainly.
Right. What is it that I'm curious? What is it that stops you from participating in that particular way by speaking online? I'm just curious.
Checking in and seeing what's going on with people.
Mhm.
No.
Dita?
So I think although I've done this purpose work with Fieldway yesterday, for me it's a little like a work in progress, and listening to everybody else is quite evoking and inspiring, and I'm re-looking at this and wanting to reshape it. But what happened for me then is it's not as clear and focused. For a moment, I got into judgment. You asked that question about what happens that people don't share. Is I got into judgment about perhaps my purpose not being clear enough or good enough or valuable enough. And so I pulled back.
Yeah.
So having caught myself doing that, I will share what there is, knowing that this is a work in progress and that it will transform, which is part of the purpose of being here, is to
Absolutely.
really learn to grow and get what we want.
Yeah.
So
And thank you for your honesty.
Thank you. My purpose in leading a licensed facilitator class is that I'm truly passionate about this work, and I have watched it change lives, including my own, to a degree that I found my breath, that I put my asthma to bed, having learned to breathe and to deal with the issues. There are lives here that are so deeply affected that I would like to find a way to reach out and touch and heal the very many people here and offer them a way to see themselves differently. The quality of my life is an example of what community and community spirit can be by sharing with others this possibility. I hope to change the lives of others proactively, humanely, and compassionately for more.
Can you read that last sentence again or repeat that last sentence?
Those 3 words were powerful.
Yeah, to live their lives. Sorry, my handwriting here is so bad. Is for others to touch other people's lives, for their growth, for their opportunity, and compassionately. I think that more or less I did freebie there a little bit, need to write it down.
No, that's lovely.
Yeah.
The essence of it. Thank you.
Yeah, the 3 words that I heard were
Passionate.
proactively, humanely, and passionately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Dita. Jen, let's hear from you.
Mine's a kind of a work in progress too, but where I am is my purpose for teaching is to support people in being the best versions of themselves by accessing and nurturing the tender, often hidden and unrecognized parts of themselves.
The tender parts. That really.
Can you read that again and allow it to inhabit you? Because those are really powerful words.
Yeah. Take a breath
Sure.
before you do it. Take a
Yeah.
breath.
My purpose for teaching is to support people in being best versions of themselves by accessing and nurturing the tender, often hidden and unrecognized parts of themselves.
Nice.
How much of that is your own journey as well? Recognizing your own tender, not often recognized parts. Any of that resonate with you?
Yeah.
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 Well, that's
Pretty
part
much
of
me.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of why our purposes matter, is because when we find that resonance about it, we're telling our story and we're inviting people to tell their stories. And that vulnerability is part of the strength that makes it safe for other people to open up. So thank you. Thank you for taking another run at it. And, yeah.
And many of us have done this work for a long time, and it's easy to forget sometimes how tender we feel with some of the mind talk and some of the beliefs we have and how we're holding ourselves, how others hold us. It's a very tender space. Raina Shay.
I thought I'd just share connecting to what Ross just said. The way I came up with my statement was by looking at the purpose generator that Jen actually facilitated me through in our last meeting. And, I looked at statements that I had that I want to offer a course because I have value and purpose and something to contribute, because my life has meaning and purpose. And so I took those words that were important to me and put them into my purpose statement.
Yeah, those purpose generators are helpful in so many ways. I know Ross shared with me that he does one before any session, any coaching session he has with the client, just to make sure that he knows.
Get grounded, get present. Yeah. Get out of my head and get into that place that is receptive to things besides just words. Anybody else? All right. Well, thank you all for that.
I'd like to hear from Set Lopo.
All right. Invite him in, Janet.
Set Lopo, I'm listening. Unmute yourself so we can hear you.
And so for me, it has been a bit of a challenge for me to get in touch with my support partner. But on writing that, more about my purpose is really empowering others to be better human beings, so that I learn by teaching them, and this would give me an opportunity for me to practice the tools more often by getting engaged in training others.
Beautiful. Thank you for saying yes to the invitation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's acknowledge everybody that shared their purpose. Well done.
All right. So today we want to talk a bit about enrollment. And again, we're wanting to look at this from the standpoint of what we are finding ourselves believing. And we want to do this in a particular way. So we're going to have an essential self diagram up in a moment, and we'll put what you believe are your have-tos when you get into that space about what's going on in trying to enroll. What is it that challenges your self-esteem in particular, if we look at it through that particular lens? And it may look like, what are others going to think of me? What are they going to think I think of them? I have to have all my stuff together before I can lead a class. You know, I've got it, whatever those pieces are. Let's dig into that for a few minutes and look at what comes up for you when you think about it's time to enroll my class.
Yeah, so just take a breath while she's getting us in room and think about what does get in your way, but what beliefs stop you. I just wanted to welcome Rafil Way to the class.
Yeah. Good, good, good.
Hari.
Thank you, Sue.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. I my thought is because I am introverted,
Mhm.
so I don't know how to sell myself.
So
I don't talk a lot. I don't, I cannot explain what I am doing for, this kind of, for selling, for advertising. And this is one of the things is blocking my way.
So you're introverted and you don't talk to people a lot, and you're believing that this is about selling yourself and you're not sure how to sell yourself.
Exactly.
Okay. So what is it about you that people wouldn't want to buy?
Because I don't talk a lot, so people doesn't know me really, how capability I could have.
Okay.
And I am now working on myself to talk more and give more information about myself, who really I am. What is my background? What can I can do? If I don't talk, how people they can know me?
That's a
I
point.
think this is very important. I figure out that. So now I am working on talking more with the friends and family, the people around me. Telling about my background, telling about what capacity I have. And also I am working on my English to talk much more better and professionally. So I think I am doing what I need to do it, but still maybe I have mind out about my self-esteem too.
Yeah. Well,
And is there a particular phrase that you have a belief, I'm not?
I am not.
Take a breath and look down. Looking up is getting into your head and thinking. Take a breath and notice what you're feeling. Let your eyes sink
I am
down.
not. I am not capable of selling myself. This is my mind thought.
Yeah, I'm not capable.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Pari.
Thank you.
Appreciate your contribution.
There's two pieces to that, Pari. There is the part that's the mind talk part, but then there's also the skill set part. And the skill set part is part of what this class is going to help with. The next two sessions, we're specifically going to that. So alongside that, you have, I'm telling you, we'll have some things to look at and learn, but your work is this self-esteem work for yourself. All of our work is our self-esteem work for ourselves. We can teach how to do this and how to do an elevator speech and how to connect and, what kind of prospect is this. But like, you know, we've already said today in this meeting, our self-esteem is what's a key piece of being able to connect with other people, even introverted people like us, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ross.
Yeah.
Welcome. Thank you.
Okay.
So
Who's next?
Dita's got
Dita.
her.
Yeah, so I think having watched the video that we did, I watched with Rafiwe, we spoke, Rafiwe and I, in our chat. Getting the concept of starting up with the why was quite novel, and I had to watch it a few times to really get the context of the limbic side and the thinking side on the outside, because I think normally I do go from the outside in. And I think the why is quite key. But for me, one of the challenges, it definitely is, and it came up chatting to Janet and she pointed out to me, is first of all, identifying people who are potentially going to be good candidates for enrollment. And I do have some mind talk about that, like if I'm speaking to them about the self-esteem course, and I say to them, well, it's a phenomenal course. Will they feel judged by me? And it's in my head. Am I telling them that I'm seeing something about them that isn't well? And if so, what are they thinking? So I tiptoe. And then the next part is, how do I introduce the work in a way that is positively reinforcing rather than from a negative place, either for myself or them? And then my limiting belief is about money. How am I valuing myself and how am I holding myself? That is definitely an esteem part of it. So working with Janet, I got that a little bit for myself in the brief time. And why? The why is really an amazing kind of interesting factor for me, is starting at the why. Why am I doing this? And how can I purpose it? And starting with what you said is the purpose generator, something else that Janet pointed out. So I get that this is a little bit about the mind talk that limits me, but it is about not knowing how to create a business from it, or not knowing how to take the context and selling it or putting it out there, even though I'm passionate about the work and what it can bring. And it's not a judgment, it's a want to share this and make others see the scope of possibility where you don't identify, I don't or didn't see the limitation or beliefs I have about myself. Because in particular, the work that touched me was the self-esteem course. It's so empowering and so liberating. So yeah, there is that. And the why definitely struck me. It struck a deep chord for me. I kept thinking, why did you give us this video? And then I started going, well, why? Well, why and why and why? And I love the concept. Yeah.
So let's go back to the money part for a minute, because the whole money idea is big for a lot of people. What's your belief? What's your mind talk about money and people paying you to take the class? What are you believing?
I think I'm believing that I'm not good enough to deliver the work and I'm not worth it.
I'm not good enough and I'm not worth it.
These two things do come up quite a lot for me. And recently I've started freelancing, having lost my job, I've always been a job person. So this entrepreneurial side is new for me. And trusting myself to ask for it, to believe that I can, and that I can deliver this work in a way that's purposeful and that people will get it. That sits at the back of my mind a lot, that what happens if I fail? What happens if I'm not good enough? What happens if I can't? That is a mind talk. There is a belief system, which is why I'm really hoping to do this work and be on some teams and actually work with other people to really get myself through it. And identifying people who can afford it, who'd be willing to pay, who want this work. This is all part of the same, I think.
Well, that's also a judgment. You're judging whether they could afford it or not on the front side.
Well, it's also about my willingness to ask them to pay for it. Right now, I am a TL for the upcoming weekend, and I'm enrolling team, creating things. I get some positive feedback, I get negative feedback. And I was just saying to Janet, one of the things I watch is for Jay or Beth, I can bring people, invite them to the meetings, and I watch how they finesse this and find a way to bring them in and invest in themselves. And what am I believing that says I can't do it? Amina can do it. They can do it. And I can't close. You know, it's people, and I'm persuasive, but I'm told there's salespeople who are persuasive and closers. And the belief for me is I'm not a closer.
I'm not a closer. Who else in the room has had that belief? I can't close it. I can talk about it, but I just can't get there and close it. So I think many of the beliefs that you had, Dita, are echoed around the room. And that's one reason why we wanted to put them out there in the light so we can take a look. We're not that different.
Right.
Sounds like you've got this part of you, this part of the bridge where you're aware of your abilities and you're confident of your experience. And then you've got this part of the bridge over here where, well, how do I let them see that part? And I have to figure out the right thing to say so that they'll agree to take the course. And what we're attempting to do in these weeks that we're going to be together is to fill in the bridge in the middle. And so some of that's about our own self-esteem and our own self-beliefs, but it's also about some skill stuff. So again, you know, like with Pari, continue to do your self-esteem work, and also we'll be bringing some other pieces into that. You know, I know a lot of people have sort of this problem about believing that we've got to sell. And that's one of the things, both Sylvia and I have worked in enrollment, Sylvia much more than me, in Houston. And this idea of selling, I think, makes it very difficult. I don't actually think that I'm selling anything. I'm inviting people. And sometimes the only part of the training that they get is the conversation they have with me. And so I just have the best connecting conversation that I can have. And if it's a fit for them, great. And if it's not, I'm still connected with somebody. I've modeled something for them. I've heard them. I've asked them deepening questions. So pieces like that are the things that help us get past that whole idea of that I've got to sell and I've got to close. Whatever the interaction we have is an opportunity for them, and we might not ever see them again, but that conversation can change them. And it makes me more willing and less afraid and more courageous to have those conversations. And I'm telling you, you can practice those conversations anywhere. I had a conversation yesterday, a day before, I don't know, this week has run together with 3 other people in the line at McDonald's. And it was an incredibly connecting conversation among 4 people that had been standing there staring at our feet. And then we had this really lovely conversation. It's just that easy. And it's this part that gets in the way. So more to come on the closing Mind Talk. But thank you for sharing that, because I think that is something that, like Sylvia says, a lot of people run into.
And we are going to address some actual skills and some practice and show you some ways that we have changed our mindset from selling something to inviting and offering. Makes a difference. Thank you. Who else? What else keeps you from wanting to enroll?
Well, I think this has been kind of at least alluded to already, but I'll share it anyway. When we did the Drivenness Generator last class, I was able to verify most of my mind talk is false. But occasionally, you know, there's that one that intellectually I know it's not true, but it gets a hook in me anyway. And it was, you know, people don't see something in me that they want.
Mm.
And, you know, my support partner helped to point out that I don't know what other people see in me or think or want for themselves. And the truth is, I've received direct feedback from others who say they see me as inspiring. But why is it that even though I can refute it with truth, you know, it still digs in me emotionally.
Sure.
How long?
And that's why we're talking about it right now.
Yeah.
Because of that little dig inside.
Yep.
How long have you believed that there's something in you, there's nothing in you that other people will want?
A long time.
Yeah. And so it's easy to see how that gets hooked in and starts to speak when the other part of your heart wants to get there and tell them all this other stuff. And then this part jumps the line.
Yeah.
And so this is, again, part of the gift and the joy of being a licensed facilitator is we get to do our own work. At some point, decide you're going to go after that son of a bitch and get rid of him. It's just not true about you. It's just not. And you know that. You know that when you look at your essential self, but that's not true about you. But there's something you're protecting yourself from, some payoff of holding on to that. You know.
Okay.
Let go. It takes work, but you know, start to believe it, Raina Shay. It's time.
Thank you for sharing that tender part of you.
Thank you.
That is exactly what we run up against. We say, oh, it's about the money, and it is. And there, to some extent, that is it. But this right here, this is the thing that stops us in our tracks. When we really get down to brass tacks about what it is about ourselves that gets in our way. That's what our work is. If we offer classes and we make money and all of that, that's great. If we get this part, it's more important.
So that you can stand solidly on who you are, no matter what anybody else thinks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Who else? Put your voice in the mix.
Just before that, though, anybody else, does that resonate with you, what Raina Shay just shared? Have you had similar mind talk to that? You know, when it really gets down in there, that's what's getting in my way. So just to give you a little check there, Raina Shay. So what
Susie. Susie had her hand raised.
Yeah, I can't see all the faces, so.
Oh, okay.
Oh, thank you. It's kind of thinking about it at the beginning. You know, when I'm thinking I want to enroll this person. It's fine when I'm doing it, but thinking about starting,
So the anticipation of the conversation is where you start getting stuck.
I think it's going in cold, as I see it.
Okay.
Um,
And if I go in cold, then
well, if I go in cold and I don't get them on my side immediately, it's like boom.
yeah, I
It's
have to
all
get
over.
them on my side immediately.
Yeah, and then if they're not on my side, then I'm not going to swear, but I'm like it's all over really.
It's screwed.
So it's when I first think, right, I'm going to speak to this person, and then I just like stop dead. If it naturally happens, that's easy peasy, because I do have the skills and the tenderness and the fullness, but it's thinking from cold.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if you ask them if they would be interested in it, so that it's not so much cold? You're asking their permission to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Hey, can we go have tea some afternoon? I've been finding some really interesting stuff for myself. And just share yourself, and and then see where it goes, without any agenda, without any drivenness or attachment. I mean, for me, sometimes I'll say, you're somebody I care about. And so I could see this being something you might be interested in. And if you're not, that's fine. Just wanted you to know about it.
Yeah.
Take the
And we'll
pressure.
talk specifically, Susie, about getting into a conversation in the next session or so.
Yeah.
Because you're right, that is sometimes a really difficult way, finding our little window.
In the old days, when I used to teach so many years ago, there were life training weekends every couple of months. And so I didn't need to enroll. There were just people there. They'd all fall off the training, excited to join anything more because of how it had how the training had impacted them. Yeah. I just realized that, as we were all talking, that there was a conveyor belt, and people would fall off and come to a class. Yeah.
They would have taken anybody's class. They just were excited. They would have come to anybody. It wasn't me. It wasn't my conversation with them that got them interested in my class. It was nothing about it. It was just they were excited, and they just were apples falling off the cart and landing in my shopping cart. Is all that true?
Yes and no.
Yeah. Because there is
no, it's not fundamentally true that they wouldn't come to my class. My mind talk says they won't come on purpose to be nasty to me. I don't know where that came from.
There's some juicy mind talk there.
Yeah.
They won't come on purpose just to be nasty to me. Yeah.
It's really funny because my support partner had that in her mind talk. And I took a hit on it myself. And I realized I questioned her about it. And actually, it was afterwards I realized I'd taken such a big hit on it myself. I was so surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Susie.
Thank you.
One thing before, and each time as you started into another response, just there, that right there, that's the fourth time that's happened. What's happening for you when you...
It's like, phew. It's not, it's that's not true. Yeah.
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 That's the place to stand. That's not true.
Yeah.
We have something in the US, and maybe you guys do too, called the DAM process, disavow, avow, mirror.
Yeah.
Put a 40-day DAM in. Maybe either some mirror work or a DAM process might, you might find some groundbreaking in that.
Thank you.
Let's see if we can hear from one more person about what are you telling yourself? Jen, are you willing?
Yeah, I think for me, it's what if they say no? And then at the same time, what if they say yes? So I put myself in sort of a no-listen situation. You know, if they say no, it's because, like Raina Shea said, they're rejecting me. And if they say yes, then, oh my God, I got to deliver.
So either way, you're stuck.
Yeah.
Down to
So
your
it's better off just to go hide, you know, that's the conundrum I put myself in.
Noticing that is huge, huge. And that's why we put it in today. Because we want to notice. If we don't notice our own, how can we help other people to notice theirs? So good job.
Well, and the other piece that that's come up for me several times in different shares is, where's our faithfulness in life partnering with us? You know, if they say yes, now I've got to deliver. I don't know what I'm going to say at the front of the room. Sylvia, the other trainers will tell you the same thing. You guys know that when you get up front, you've got an idea of what's going to happen. But I couldn't have predicted the conversation we were going to have today. So there's a piece of just trusting yourself and honoring yourself and working with life that comes alongside you. You know, face plants are face plants. Everybody learns from them. You're just human. Oh, well.
It's that question, will I be faithful or faithless? And how am I being in this moment?
I had a friend one time was sharing in a team meeting about her nephew who is, I don't know, 7 or 8 at the time, in a big family gathering, and he came flying down the stairs and just busted his ass all the way across the living room. And he jumped up and went, ta-da! Because, you know, he could have been all embarrassed and he could have been all this stuff. And he thought, well, let's just celebrate it. You know, what if we did that more? Bust your butt and go, wow, boy, I really blew that one. How about, you know, give me a do-over here. Be compassionate with ourselves.
Yeah. And so we've heard a lot of things that were not true, a lot of pieces of mind talk that were not true, but let's look at what is true. So go ahead and get your journal or your notebook, whatever you brought to class today. And you'll have 5 minutes to write what is really true about me. What is really true about me?
If you found yourself going into one of those really soft, open places, that's the place to go find those truths. That's the part that has been lying for a long time to try and keep you safe.
And when we come back, we will be in pairs.
All right, so now, Karin, I think we're going into pair shares with support partners. Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
And so this is a time for you to talk with your support partner about what really is true about you. And you'll each have 5 minutes.
Sorry, we're talking about the question that we were just writing about?
Yes.
True about you, and not from this place, but from this place.
So that you can own it. There's something about saying it out loud that allows you to really own the truth in a different way than just writing to yourself.
And this is how you want to be able to be in this space with the people that you're talking to about it, right? The more comfortable, you're not going to go into this pair share selling yourself. You're going into this pair share talking about what is true about you, what matters. So that's
it's already true about you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to create it. You were born with it.
Space. It is not coming out of an ego brag space at all. It's that sacred part.
So we are going to capture your truths We're going to use the whiteboard, and Amina will capture what really is true about you. Now, this requires you to be sitting with your backbone on. So let's just practice. Get our backbone on.
Heart
Feel
open.
your backbone. Take a breath. Feel your body. Wiggle your shoulders a bit. Wiggle your hips. Put your feet firmly on the floor. Because what's true about you is important. It's integral to your growth as a person, but also to your growth as a facilitator. And so we want to be able to say, this is true about me. It's undeniable to me. You know, it's not about what other people are thinking about us. It's what we know is true. So take a breath.
So who's ready?
Yeah, what is true about you?
I'll go.
Okay, Dita.
What is really true about me is that I'm a compassionate, sensitive, and intuitive person. I am a strong communicator. I'm a connecting, capable person who can lead from a place of openness. I'm in touch with my humanity. I want to empower and uplift others. I can lead a training if I allow myself to trust myself and others. I'm a truth teller. I am my own worst critic, and I do not always trust my ability.
Thank you, Dita. Well said.
Thank you.
We'll acknowledge everybody at the end. Setlopo, what is true about you?
What's true about me is that I care for fellow humanity. And sharing what I know with others in order for me to empower them. And I am a humble person.
I see that in you. That caring for humanity is really true about you, isn't it?
What do you
Anything
feel?
else?
Setlopo, what are you feeling right now?
Love. Feel love.
So that this man was talking to you about coming to something that he was leading. Would you lean in? Would you be interested? Yeah.
Yeah.
This love just comes right off of you.
Yeah. Thank you. Who's next? What's your truth? Philway, would you like to get your voice in since you came in a little late and we didn't get to hear you at the beginning?
Trying to hide.
Yeah, no, you cannot run, you cannot hide.
Okay. Okay, I'll pick a few, which I think are significant for me, is that I am resilient, I'm visionary. I am capable. I am loving, nurturing, connecting. And I am enough. And I know enough to run a course. I don't need to prove myself.
That one statement, I am enough, really matters, doesn't it?
Mm.
Yeah. And I see your resiliency. Yeah, thank you.
Who's next?
All right.
Yes, the truth about me is I am courageous and even my language barrier, I keep learning, immortalized, and then I learn for coaching, and then I learn being interpreter for the patient. So I am proud of myself about that. I never stop, and I am very caring. I wanted everything I learned. I can the transformation I got it. I wanted to do the same thing to other people, to teach them how to transform themselves. And this kind of everything I am doing give me a lot of joy. So I am compassionate, and I am going to keep doing that because that is purpose of my living my life. So I can do what I wanted. I really wanted, I can do it. And I prove that. And that's it. Just the truth is I want to teach the facilitator course.
Yeah.
Hopefully. I am going to do that.
Hari, you said that in spite of language being a barrier, how many languages do you speak?
4.
Yeah. 4 languages. So that's something that's true about you also.
Yeah.
It's quite.
I tell you, I love to learn.
Thank you.
I learned a lot in my life. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pari. Who have we not heard from yet?
Okay.
Susie.
Susie.
I am deeply loving. I care for people. I'm inspiring. I'm humble and talented and intuitive. I am a good friend, and that I have an open heart, and that I'm made to teach this course. It's facilitating C is my arrival from having no self-esteem coming out of my childhood, which was a long time ago.
So it's a bit of a touchstone for you, right? Mm-hmm.
You know, you're intimately well known in that feeling of loss of self-esteem, and so you're very compassionate about having others claim theirs.
Yeah. Thank you, Susie.
Thank you.
Very heartfelt. I saw someone else's hand. Who's next? Jen.
I can be vulnerable and authentic. I am vulnerable and authentic. I have the capacity to connect with others deeply. I'm conscientious. I value people. I am caring and loving. And I am valuable and I'm worthy of being seen.
Mm-hmm.
Say that last sentence again and just really get it, because we're seeing you right now.
I am valuable and worthy of being seen.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well done.
Either Raina Shea or Janet. I think we've got two left. Raina Shea, would you like to go next?
Sure. If I can find where I wrote it.
Well, you know, it's not about what you
I
wrote,
know.
it's what you know. Just trust yourself.
My life has peace and purpose, and I share my gifts with others.
Mm. Yeah, peace and purpose. Thank you. And Janet.
I'm creative and intuitive, and I bring that to life when I teach.
Creative and intuitive. Thank you.
Janet, you can, from that space, you can just imagine the room. You're being creative and intuitive, and these people are sharing an experience with you. Yeah, see that on your face.
Yes. I had some more sentences, but that one sentence really says it all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's acknowledge everybody who shared their truth. It's important to be able to share the truth about you.
And create that space so others get to share that space as well. So many people would love to be in that space and they don't know how. It's not been modeled for them. They don't think they're safe. That's a big part of what we do as licensed facilitators. And as partnering with our partners and co-facilitating, how we are together, how Sylvia and I present, how the team interacts with us, all of these things are modeling things for people that they may not have seen before, that they start to see and be called into.
So all of those truths are what you can stand on. I use this little teacher trick. Those truths are your rock, are your platform for you to stand on, so that your I is there, it's present, and not negotiable. You are what you say. It's important.
So we're going to do a bit of a shift, but what I want you to do, hopefully, is stay in that space that you're in. Because we're going to look more at some tactical stuff, but it's very easy for some of us to shift from a heart space to a head space. And I know for me, part of my practice is about staying in that connected space at the same time that I'm looking at what it is that's delivering, what's coming next, what is to be included. And we want to look at some of the tactical stuff, some of the process stuff about getting a class off the ground. So just notice what happens in your body when we start bringing up some of these things. And we're going to start with you guys thinking about what it is that's challenging for you when you think about building a course. What comes up for you around things like team or facilities, venues, other things like that? What are some of the challenges around building a course? This is kind of where the rubber meets the road. We can create this lovely being space, right? We know how to do this. We know how to share this. We want to do it at the same time that we're doing these things. And it's a practice. So what's some of the challenges?
Yeah, whether face to face or online, what are the challenges that you have?
Maybe things that you don't know, or things that you want to know more about, anything along those lines. If you haven't taught on Zoom before, and the idea of teaching online, those kinds of things. Just take a minute, think about, envision yourself starting a class. What would be the steps that you would look into to be on your plan if you did a Rebus?
Yeah, what seems hard? Hey, Janet?
Hard thing for me right now is creating courses in a community that does not have an active More to Life community. So it's about sharing what I know about More to Life in a way that gets people eager to learn more about it before I can even start talking about a course.
Yeah.
And I've got some strategies for that, but that's the thing that's hard for me.
Okay. It's like what Dita says, when you're having More to Life weekends, frequently the access is easier.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Janet. Who else? What seems difficult to you? What's a challenge for you? We've all got them.
Susie.
Um,
Finding time with your co-facilitator to meet, right? She and I are doing a C course, and we were supposed to meet yesterday, and I didn't make it. A little bit of hurricane stuff going on. So, but that's part of what gets in the way, isn't it? How to work around drops and calendars and things like that. But go ahead, you had something different, I'm sure.
Yes, actually, it's the process. It's like I just want to be doing it. The slowness of the process.
The lead up? You mean the lead up to the course?
Yeah, just the whole process from beginning to end. And this is a great admission that I'm saying now, because it does run in other areas of my life. Because of the what happens in my body when I went to like thousands of schools and lived in millions of countries and different places. And I'm sensationalizing it now, I appreciate, but it was really, I didn't learn process. I didn't learn to be in process. And I think that's really an edge for me now, to enjoy the ride. If I set out to do something, I enjoy my ride every day. But if I set out to do something, then I kind of balk at the process. And that's really, that will be my Rebus. Yeah.
Good. Good. Thank
And
you.
Jen and I are support partners, and we wanted to teach. And then COVID came, and then the venue that we chose kind of flunked out on the dates. So we're now arranging to teach again in person in England. Yeah.
And every time a class doesn't make, for some reason, we have learnings that we bring forward to the next one. Yeah. Okay.
What else?
since
Jen.
Reignite is a new course, we're attempting to gather from you, what are the challenges so that we can address those challenges?
Jen and then Dita.
Yeah, I think a couple of things for me. You know, I have such a big yes from Susie, you know, like let's teach, and I'm so pleased to be working with her again. And you know, I think there's something in the universe that's brought us together again. But I'm just conscious of it. Just feels a bit scattered. You know, I'm in Buckinghamshire. You know, I feel a little bit isolated, and I'm like, well, who's going to be on my team? You know, where where is everyone? And I think, yeah, it's just the process of you know, enrolling people and getting, you know, a yes from people. That feels a bit daunting right now.
Yeah.
What if the target was just one person by someday? Because I know sometimes what gets overwhelming to me is I'm trying to figure out how to eat an elephant in one bite. And I think, okay, I'm going to find one team member who are somebody I can call. Suddenly it becomes manageable to me. So just notice what sorts of mental processes that you can put in place that start to empower you, make it manageable. And that's part of the importance of having a partner as well. That if you go, wow, you know, I'm kind of choking here on all of this, they may go, well, let's just work on one thing, you know, who are our next 3 leads? Really, really important to get some momentum going and then keep some momentum generating and then let that energy build. Thanks, Jen.
Yeah, and location is an issue. If you're in the middle of not very many people, it's a consideration for you. Okay, thank you, Jen. Who was next?
Dita.
So I have quite a lot of reservations or limitations. Obvious ones are things like the venue, finding a venue that's a reasonable price. Not having the tools, whether it's a whiteboard or a flip chart, things like that I would need to purchase still. Zoom also, I've never really had to do the tech on Zoom myself, and also I need to get an account, so it's not something impossible, but it is something I don't have.
Like a checking account for this class, is that what you're talking about?
No,
or a
I'm
Zoom account?
talking about like I need to have a Zoom account that would allow me to teach a long account. There's practical things, so it's not a total limitation.
Of course.
Yeah. So then what is something for me a little differently, it's about how do I advertise? How do I have the conversations that are the enrolling conversations to get enough people to be able to run the course successfully? Some courses require a minimum number of people where you have triads and things like that. So to get enough people, and who are the people I should be talking to, if not within the community? And I don't only feel like the people in the community are the people to reach. I want to find people outside. I have a heart to want to get to schools and teachers and people who are teaching youth and children and parents, so that if their esteem is intact, how would they be different with their children? And ultimately, can I find a way to bring this to the youth and younger children within the program down the line? So for me, then there is this thing about commitment, mine and others. Am I committed? And when I'm committed, how committed? Because I sometimes stand back from fear or personal distrust, maybe, to step out of procrastination because I believe that I can't, which is more of the same, I suppose. And then partnership, because I do need still to qualify properly. It's a requirement to teach so many courses with a qualified or a licensed, fully licensed practitioner is the word I'm looking for. And they seem to be fewer than, even though there are people, I don't know who's licensed and really working with the community or not. And then of course then enrollment. So it's a kind of whole package that I'm looking for. The language, how to talk to people, how to market this. I'm very tentatively, just to share with everyone, is that there is a community of people from a progressive temple who I reached out to about just joining our guest event, our preview, and in my language to them, put out to them that I'm a facilitator of the work for a self-esteem course, and would there be an interest, and would they like somebody to come and talk to them, just to see. And I know there are a lot of people, and I think I've had 3 likes, which is better than no likes, but let's see if anyone joins. And I don't mind going back to them, but it did mean I had to put up my big girl pants, to be honest. But there we have it. So yeah, it's those kind of things. Yeah.
One of the things you mentioned is that idea of touches, that you put it out there. There's a lot of people out there and you got 3 likes. But there is this idea. How many times have you gotten an email that looked interesting to you and you're like, oh, I want to look into that. I want to click on that website when I've got time. And then it just gets washed away in the swarm of life. So
Yeah.
there's this thing about building credibility, building awareness of who you are and what you do, and having the multiple touches where people are like, oh yeah, because the first time they're like, oh, maybe that's not for me or whatever. But the more they see it, the more they start to accept it as part of reality and part of what's on offer. So that's a bit of what happens with that. So
I've heard that it takes 7 touches for somebody to say yes. So, you know, sometimes people's mind talk is, I don't want to bother them. You know, I don't want to keep offering something, but even among Mortal Life students, I hear that. I asked somebody why they weren't on team, and she said, well, I only got 1 invitation. You know, it's
those 7 touches, because Dita, you did talk about media and things like that. Those 7 touches don't have to be, I'm calling somebody, you know, once a week or every 3 days. Hey, how you doing? Still interested or not? It can be other things that we're going to talk about starting next session about media, how to build media, flyers, Facebook, how to use some of those things, how to have different conversations with different kinds of people. So that's part of why we're having this sort of a tactical talk here at the end of this session, is to set us up for where we're going next. So you
just even that, as you're saying, you know, is to enroll team, to bring team for a full weekend is a difficult thing. And I'm finding with Amina's putting out messages and I'm putting out messages that until I phone someone and say to them, please, would you join the team? I'd love to have you, or send them a personal message, that they then go, oh yes, okay, I have been invited. And that's interesting for me because if I see something like that and I go, I saw this course and I went, yeah, I'm there. I've been stuck for so long, I'm there now. But other people are more reticent, you know. So yes, and media, social media, I'm truthfully very bad at it. So anything you can teach Amina, I'm in it. Thank
Mina?
you.
Thanks, Tita. I'm loving that you're a yes and that everybody here, is a yes, I assume, for all of this. One of the things I want to say is it is a very fine balance. So even though it's between 7 and 12 touches that people generally start looking at what it is, it does depend on the person. It does depend on the context in which they receive it. I do this, delete, I'm not interested right now. Put it in my save box where I then go and read it on a Sunday. But if it's not my priority today, and if it's not by Sunday where it's done, no, sorry, I can't attend. But for me personally, I've also looked at my capacity in my life. And when I got to that point where I looked at what could I actually do with the time I have, I realized that this is also what other people do. And even though for us, we want them to come, we become sometimes very driven about, you have to come to this course, it's amazing, be on team, etc. For them, that may not be a priority. And by the time they read the message, they've realized actually there's other things that was more important in my life. And it can be really frustrating to accept that. And for a long time, I had to go like, what's that about me that doesn't accept that people really want to be on team or really want to come a self-esteem course or whatever it is? And the truth is they have other things happening in their lives, not just what I want for them. And sometimes that can be frustrating to get to grips with, especially when, I have a course I want to get going. And we're going to talk more into it and we'll speak more about what you can do. But the best always, communication and a long lead up so that you also have enough capacity and space in your life to be able to align and to swap and go with whatever the flow is. But we'll say more about that at the next session.
Thanks, Mina. Yeah, we are famous for saying follow the life shocks, and then we don't want to follow them when they show up.
Is there anything that is on your list that hasn't been mentioned yet that you see as a challenge?
We've got some options if it hasn't occurred to you yet. So that's why Sylvia is asking. Renishay.
Well, kind of touching back on what Harry said earlier about being an introvert, I just don't talk to a lot of people on a regular basis. And when Janet and I were preparing to teach our course a few months ago, I realized that I don't even have phone numbers. Like, I have a lot of Facebook friends, but for a lot of them, I don't have email addresses or I don't have phone numbers. And I did reach out to some by Facebook Messenger, but I don't really feel that's the best way to reach out. So I feel like it's frustrating. I think I don't have a pool of people to draw from.
A pool of people to draw from.
And the question becomes, how do you create a pool of people to draw from?
Yeah. And you do have Facebook friends, and that can be start gathering. Just like you gather your tools for doing any project, start gathering and making a list of possible prospects. If they're your Facebook friends, send them a message and say, I'd love to have your contact information. Can you give me your email and phone? I've got, some things that I thought of you when I was creating. And then you start with your own database of possible prospects.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And, you don't have to be the one who's joining every club and everything. You also can partner with an organization that has a following. Like, I know you're a Unity teacher. I have been a Unity teacher too. I used my contacts in Unity to also put together, because similar ideas about, mind talking about your thoughts leading your pathway. Look for organization groups of people who have similarities to what you're looking for.
And look for those opportunities that just pop up. There's a guy in South Africa, I'm not sure where exactly he is, John Chan. We were having a course years ago in Houston, and he was there observing the election at the time, because he was working in like voter registration and understanding elections and bringing that knowledge back to his country. And he and I just wound up on an elevator together. And he's like, well, what are y'all doing here? I see y'all, and we wound up having a conversation. And then he hung around, and after the session closed that night, we sat, several of us, and had a conversation with him. He wound up coming back and doing the weekend, just out of the blue, And so there's times where things pop up that there's no push to it, it's just curiosity, human curiosity. Maybe it goes somewhere and maybe it doesn't. But there's one of the things that we'll be talking about in the next couple of sessions called an elevator speech, which is basically, how do you talk about this in about 30 seconds or so, where you can give somebody enough information where they're curious about it. I tell people, if I could just unplug this little memory chip out of my head of all the times I've been on team and all the interactions I've seen and all the changes I've seen people make in their lives, and let you have those experiences, you would sign up in a heartbeat. But we can't do that, so we have to do something else. We're going to have another video for you to watch that talks about different kinds of people, different kinds of prospects, and how do you speak to each of those different kinds of prospects. So that's one of the things when we're talking about enrollment. How do we get better at having a conversation one-on-one with somebody, where it's not about, this is a great class, you should do it, but it's about, what's up for you in your life and what's challenging you right now? Oh, okay. Well, if you had a handle on that, if you were able to speak better to your partner about the children, what would that mean in your life? Those kinds of things. And then there's things like tracking spreadsheets, keeping up with your tasks, keeping up with your calendar, all of that kind of stuff. Some of us aren't good at that, and that is something that if we can get just a little bit better at, can really make a big difference. And taking that load off of us, it's not the elephant we're looking at now, it's these different pieces, and these different pieces are things that are able to be accomplished. And we mentioned media, so we'll look at flyers and things like that about media. Enrolling videos, we could easily do a video right here, us as a group for 2 minutes. What is it we like about being LFs? And then we send it out to the LF community. So there's ways that we have technology that we can do simple things that can reach a lot of people. And I think we found that people will watch a video before they'll click on a link. If they see a picture of somebody, we've started using thumbnails more. If they see a picture of somebody on that clickable link, then they're like, oh, okay, let me look at that. And then there's things like weekly meetings with your team and your co-facilitator, how to manage those, how to keep people motivated, how to be a good leader, how to use Arevis, to get in there, and where do you store it. There's those kinds of tactical things that suddenly become overwhelming, especially for those of us. I just want to sit and facilitate somebody. I want to help somebody change their life. And you're telling me now I'm going to do all this other stuff. Well, not necessarily. You may be able to enroll people on your team, but it's good to know about the things that can help, because if one of those things is the tripping block for you and you're able to solve that, suddenly you've got a whole new world of opportunity that opened up for you. So that's part of where we'll be going next, is to look at that. And a little bit why we wanted to rattle your chain a little bit here at the end of this class is, we've looked at what's true about us and what's our passion about this. Now, how do we harness that and take it into these things so that this passion walks alongside our planning and walks alongside our doing? Yeah.
And what Amina talked about, giving yourself a long run up. If you're thinking of running a class, how long of a run up do you give yourself? Just anybody, take yourself off mute and pop out. What are you thinking is an adequate run up time?
2 months.
2 months?
Little bit.
Janet and I are giving ourselves 4 months.
4 months?
6 weeks.
I usually do about 3. Setlopo, what do you think?
6 weeks.
6 weeks. Okay, that's a pretty fast one.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just saying, it's fast for me. You might be able to do it in 6 weeks. I need more time.
Yeah. And it may depend on if you've done this for a while. Like for Sylvia and I, we've got people who have been on team for us for Zoom, for the Anger class, for mastery classes. So we've got a little bit of a resource pool that we can check in with when we want to do something. It may take some time to put those pieces in place. There's a lot of facilitators that want to learn how to do this. So one of the places, especially if you're working online, that you can check for team is in the licensed facilitators globally. Because those folks can come alongside and they get to learn, you get to learn, they get to support you. So there's creative ways about finding some ways to fill these gaps or identify the gaps.
You know, just in terms of what we already have is we have a website, you know, the hub that has that licensed facilitator group, and you can chat with facilitators through the hub. We also have Friends of More to Life Facebook page where you can ask. I've seen people say, I'm running a course at a certain place. Is anybody interested in being on team? Partnership to me has been huge value. When I think of myself going out by myself to run a class, it seems like a big mountain. But if I have somebody holding my hand and we go forward, all of a sudden the mountain becomes just a swell. Colette?
Thank you. I was thinking of team. I've run many courses and I've always had a team. When I originally started off, I would thought that somehow, you know, if they came on team, they were doing me a favor. And so I used to start off from a point of gratitude to them. And then, of course, right, the more I experienced I became, I realized, of course, this is a wonderful opportunity for another person because they're going to learn so much. And it's going to be, I look upon each course as a mini Way of a Warrior. You know, there's so much there for us, and it will require quite a lot, certainly, to start off. And each time I would want to recreate it, a fresh experience. So don't sort of get clever with it, as I was tempted to do, of course, and coast it, because each time it's a fresh experience. And so the invitation is there, rather than my humble gratitude for them doing me a favor. Yeah.
It is an invitation. It's an invitation. It's an offer that you're holding your hand out. I'm offering you an opportunity to partner with me. I'm offering you a place. And this is why I'm asking you. I've seen this and this and this within you. And that is attractive to me. And that's exactly what I want from a team member. So saying what you see in a person often gives them the confidence to step forward.
And talking with them too about what's their current growth edge, what's challenging them right now, and how could being on team for one of these courses be of service to them. It is a chance, like Colette says, about sort of advanced course work when you're on a team like this. We don't have many opportunities. Hopefully they're starting to open up about Warrior and the advanced courses again. But living in that environment for a week is just so special to be on team for something like that. And this is an opportunity we can offer people that don't have to go away for a week, that they can partner, they can be alongside us in the way that we're alongside each other here. It's a very different thing to think I'm part of a community of licensed facilitators. I've got people all over the world that are interested in what I'm doing, and I'm interested in what they're doing. Even developing this class and then partnering with Karin, Mina, and Colette, it's been really, there's something nourishing for me about working on a project like this with such intention and purpose to it, with people that care deeply about it. It just feeds me somehow, and I miss it when I don't have it. So this is part of what is on offer for you, is as you engage with this and you learn along the way. Nobody's an expert starting out. We support each other and we learn together, and we wind up with something that we never could have envisioned was possible for us.
Mm-hmm. So Janet, and then Amina.
Yeah, I just want to offer a couple of design suggestions as we continue with the enrollment conversation. At the risk of sounding ageist, and I did my training more than 40 years ago, the enrollment conversation was vastly different then than it is now. We've talked about technology and the impact of things like text messaging versus picking up a telephone. But I think COVID altered things a lot. So on the one hand, there's those of us that did a lot of face-to-face enrollment one way 40 years ago. Now it's a whole different set of technology. Then you've got COVID in it. Now we have a bunch of younger people who are involved in the program, and they have a better understanding than some of us old folks. And I think there's something to be said for us being able to be open to everything that everybody has to contribute to the conversation. For enrollment discussions, I think we need to be able to discuss all of that in a way that will benefit everybody. So that's what I have to offer in the way of a suggestion.
Yeah. And we will go into enrollment quite deeply in the next few sessions. Mina?
Thanks, Sylvia. I want to say, if we were doing this in the real world, let's flip it around. What you're doing, not only as an entrepreneur, is you are project managing. Mm-hmm. And when you say that word, I'm a project manager, in the real world to other people, they go, oh my word, because project management has such a varied skill set. And this is what you get when you're doing this. So you may not be doing an official project management course, but you're actually doing the practical work right now, being a facilitator, because it gathers all those facilities up and you're doing it in a different way. You're managing team, finding solutions, all those kind of things. And when I speak to people and I put it out there, for example, on Facebook, so that people understand in layman's terms what it is that we're doing, you're project managing. The team is facilitating this course. They're putting the project together, and then people goes, oh, now I get it. Because we often in Immortal Life, we have our own wording, like other places also have. So we know what we mean when we say team, or team leader, etc. But when I say Dita's the project manager for this training coming up, oh, okay, I get that. I get who that is and what she does. So sometimes it's also just realizing that we not only in Immortal Life, we're part of the real world out there, and using a different word makes more sense sometimes to people. And one of the things I often use in, when I teach teachers, and I teach marketing to teachers, is the example of the Stanley Cup. So the Stanley Cup and the Stanley Flask have been out there for years and years. It was always marketed to men, to construction workers, being sturdy and durable and keeps your water hot, etc. for a very long while. And a few years ago, two women thought about just changing one thing, the color of the cup. Changing the color to pastel colors and marketing it to women became $1 billion industry. It shot out completely, just by doing this, one thing, changing the color so that women notice the color, and then aligning it to a more female-oriented target market, just flip the lid for that. So sometimes it's just doing one thing and aligning yourself in a different way that makes such a difference, not only for the community, because we often think about the community, etc., but for you as an individual, as a business owner, because that's who you are. You're running a business. So more to come, because I know we're on time now.
Yeah. So I want to ask you just for about 2 or 3 minutes so that Karen can speak to you about your assignment over the next 2 weeks.
I didn't know I'm speaking about the complete assignment, but one part of it. So sorry, Ross.
Go ahead, speak about the part that you were planning to, and then we'll fill in if we need to.
Okay. Yes. So one of the things that we've been focusing on since the start, or that we encourage you to look at, was the support partnerships that you have at the moment. And we would like to remind you about those support partnerships and to maybe become more conscious about how you want to be in your support partnership with one another, and make some conscious choices about what would you like from each other in this partnership. How do you want to move forward? I think tonight was very thought-provoking. Many things came up that could be very well further discussed in your support partnership. I know many of you might not really be creating a course together, but we want this to be a learning experience as if you will be doing this with the current support partner that you have. So for the learning experience, I invite you to get in fully. Go in fully in this support partnership and create it in a way that you want it, to bring out the best for yourself, for the support partnership, but also for the context that you want to serve when you are in this kind of support partnership. And we are very familiar with support partners in More to Life. I don't know, some of you might have a lifelong support partner that you've started out with when you first came into the program, but maybe there's someone different that you haven't had a support partner with, partnership with before. And see what I want to encourage you to be curious. What can I learn from this new support partnership, even though if it's one that you haven't chosen for yourself? But you know, life came along and this person is now your support partnership for this course. So yeah, just make the best of this journey together and learn as much as possible. I know for myself, I love to learn. I see myself as a student of life, and for life. So I want to ask you and invite you to have that same curiosity about what more can you learn, even if you've been in this for a while. What new is there that you can learn from this about yourself, about being in a support partnership, but also about that process of creating together. And I think in the team meeting yesterday, we spoke about, yet you will have 2 different purposes, individual purposes for yourself. But then when you come together with a support partnership, there's a different purpose that will be co-created. And how do you integrate, find a way to integrate your individual purpose to bring it to a course that you want to run together, where it's the C, the power of purpose, or power of connection. So how do you join hands with a co-facilitator in that context?
Thank you, Karen.
And yeah, I think that's that from my side.
Okay. So with your support partner this week, you'll talk about the things that we talked about, the challenges we talked about. Find out with your support partner, what are you strong at? What are you not so strong at? And act as though you really are going to teach a class together so that you can get in practice with that ebb and flow with somebody else. You know, part of giving yourself that big window to start with is working with your support partner and getting to know your support partner. And so that's what you're going to do today. I mean, the next couple of weeks. Don't wait till the last minute to get in touch with your support partner. Call early and set up maybe a couple times in this week to get together, look at the challenges, get a feel for your support partner. and also get a feel for what makes my knees knock. What am I scared to death about?
Yeah,
And
and like Karin
go ahead.
says, you know, create a purpose together. It would really be part of the thing that would motivate and bring a conversation with your support partner forward, is to look at how do you combine your purpose with somebody else? Because that's really the dance that you're talking about. We learn so much in partnering with somebody else. So what's the common purpose that motivates and excites both of you? Because chances are, if it motivates and excites the two of you, it likely is going to motivate and excite people that are going to be interested in your class. We'll send you an email that's got the information. There is a video that we're going to want you to look at. It's about a 30-minute video from a More Life student from New Zealand, Gilly Stevens. And it's very, very interesting. It talks about different personality types, different prospect types, and how to identify who they are and how to speak to them differently so that it lands for them in a way that they understand. So you'll
Because
get the
enrollment,
information.
yeah, enrollment will be the topic for our next meeting. So having this as a background, getting to know your support partner a little bit better, and then also learning some how to reach these different kinds of people. And Gilly's video is excellent. It's given me lots of food for thought when it comes to enrolling and stepping forward to say yes. So thank you for your participation today and also adding 6 minutes here to the end. We appreciate you being willing to stay. And if you have any trouble at all with your support partner relationship, you have a team list, a contact list. Contact any of our team or Ross and me, and we will help you figure it out.
Yep. You're
All
spending
right.
this time here for a reason, so let's drink every last bit of juice that we can out of it.
And let's make it work for us.
Yeah.
That's the purpose.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you
Goodbye,
all.
everybody.
And see
Thank you.
time.
You,
Well done
everybody.
today. Well done today, everyone.
Yeah.